Welcome back to Living Live.
And right now, we're going to challenge ourselves to try something new.
Whether it's trying a new food or facing our deepest fears, many of us yearn to try something we've never done before.
And our next guest has done just that. She's developed a way to help us pursue our dreams and is the author of the inspirational novel, The Next Thing on My List. Please welcome Jill Smolinski to Living Live. Hey, Jill, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. It's great to be here.
Well, you know, my first question to you I find kind of hard to ask because you don't look 40.
Oh, you're nice.
No, but you had an epiphany before you turned 40, and so you created a challenge for yourself.
I did.
A 40-day challenge.
I did. What happened was my 40th birthday was coming up, and I have always been one of those people. I always got excited about my birthday, and when 40 was coming, all of a sudden it was like, I'm old, and I didn't know what to do, and I found myself all of a sudden regretting all the things I hadn't done. I mean, I was sitting there going, I've never gotten my belly button pierced. You know, I don't care, but for some reason it bothered me. And so I started thinking about, you know, what do I want to do? What are the kinds of things I wish I could do in my life? And everything I was coming up with were things like climb Mount Everest or all these huge things. And when I thought, and it was making me feel worse because I'm a single mom and I work full time. You know, I was working full time, and I couldn't do it. It was too expensive. It was too far away. And I thought, well, what can I do right now in my life? Because I was in a rut and I knew it. And I thought, well, what can I do now? Rather than saying I want to go away from my life in order to live my life more exciting, what could I do right now, right here? And I came up with an idea, and I did it as a countdown to the 40 days leading up to my birthday, where every day I did one thing that I'd never done before, or that challenged me, or that just sounded fun. And I just picked something every day and did it. And some days were big, like I'm a little afraid of heights, and I went up in a helicopter.
Good for you.
And that was interesting. But I mean, even little things. One day, all my life I had said, I hate Brussels sprouts. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I don't think I've ever even had Brussels sprouts. I just knew I hated them. So one day I tried them.
And sure enough, they suck.
No, I love Brussels
they're
sprouts.
awful. Those are the worst thing.
I love Brussels sprouts.
You put enough butter and salt on anything and it's fine, is what I discovered.
Well, you know, another way of fixing them, I just have to say this, you know, because I love to talk about cooking, even though this isn't a cooking segment. A little maple syrup and chopped pecans on Brussels sprouts. Very, very good.
Let's have more sugar.
Oh, yes. From Louisiana, we grow sugar and we love it. Now you wrote a character in your book who completes a life list.
Right.
Kind of talk about that. What is a life list?
Okay, in the novel, it's a little bit different than what I'm doing. In the novel, my character's name is June, and what she does is, what happens is, she meets this woman, she gives her a ride home in her car, and there's a car accident, and my character is okay, but the woman dies. And then she finds out that she had written a list of 20 things that she had wanted to complete in her lifetime. So my character sets out to finish that list. And in the process, she's doing somebody else's list of dreams, but somehow it brings out all the things that she realizes that she'd always, you know, it brings out her own desire to to live more fully.
What exactly is a life list? I mean, how would I go about it?
It's basically writing down, and when I say it's very important to write down the things that you want to do in your lifetime. And I've met a lot of people since I started this book. I've met so many people who do life lists, and it's interesting. Some people just write a top 5. In my lifetime, I want to, you know, live by the beach, and that's my number 1. and you know, travel certain places. But it can be anything. It can be maybe 20 things. It can be 100 things. And the important thing really is that you write it down, because when I've been talking to people, what I find is the people who write it down are the people who are actually making it happen.
You're so right. I write almost every night. I write down my goals and what they are, and I find it so powerful.
Yes. Yes, there's something about seeing it in writing that makes you, and just that desire to cross it off when you're done, you know?
Yeah, but also writing is an ideomotor response, and it passes critical faculty. It goes right to the subconscious mind. So writing is incredibly powerful.
Well, That's a big word, too. All right.
I know, I was like, ooh,
Wait, I just got a headache.
It's really, and I was talking to Florence about this a couple of weeks ago. I like to try to set a goal for myself every year. And I learned how to ride a motorcycle because I always wanted to ride a bike. So I took the classes to ride a motorcycle.
wow.
I learned how to single hand a 34-foot sloop. And I never learned how to really swim properly. So and it's very important to do these things because when you do these things, I find you meet people that really do impact your life. You want to talk about that a little bit? How the people that you meet when you're filling out these lists, how they impact your life.
Oh, it's been great, and I have on my website, I have people who write in all the time, and they tell me what they've been working on, and it's really fun. And another thing is they actually, because I say what I'm doing every day, and people are writing in there, and it's so funny because when you tell everybody you're doing this kind of thing, all of a sudden you get so much support.
It inspires other people. But are there do's and don'ts that you should have when you're creating this list? What shouldn't I do?
Oh, well, one of the biggest, the first thing you should do, again, is make sure you write it down. But you shouldn't make too many goals that are too big. So you want to...
Unrealistic.
Yeah, exactly. And so if maybe you do want to run a marathon someday. But if they're all pie in the sky, then it's just, then it's something you fold up in the drawer and you put away. Like a lot of people, it's like, oh, I have a life list, it's somewhere underneath my underwear and the sachet. So you want to make sure that there's smaller ones, or even if you have a bigger goal like a marathon, to maybe start with, the first thing is I'm going to walk a 3K.
Yeah.
And then, and build up to it so that you can eventually get there.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point, not to have unrealistic goals. They have to be somewhere within the frame of...
Exactly, exactly. Otherwise it stops being fun and it starts being a chore, and that's not what it's all about. Yeah. It definitely should be more fun.
Well, now, should people avoid being vague when they're making these life lists,
Yeah, you want to be specific because, for example, let's say you might say, I want to be a nicer person. Well, I think a lot of people think they're nice people, and they would cross that off. And maybe it's a little premature, so you might think of what you think makes a nice person.
Okay.
I won't yell at anybody for a week.
More specific.
Yeah, exactly. And the more specific you are, because what that does is then again you get the thrill. There's a certain excitement of saying I've achieved it, and if you don't really know when you've achieved it, then.
It's really great because I think what it does, it makes you more aware of your behavior too. Just saying I'm not going to shout at someone, or it really then can inspire kindness, which is such a great idea. Is there a difference between a life list and your 40-day challenge, or are they similar?
Well, they're similar in that they're both ways to bring more out of your life every day, but a life list is really more focused on goals. You're going to write it down and you're setting a certain number of goals. Like, I like what you do, the one thing every year, and that, the 40-day thing that I did and that I still do every day now is really it's more impromptu. Like, I might be going along every day if I'm doing one little thing. Obviously, they have to be small if I'm doing it every day. I remember the other day I was driving, and I thought I haven't done anything yet today. And it's funny because even as you're driving along, you get into a routine. You don't really notice where you're going or what you're doing. Well, this you really pay attention because it's like I've got to do something today. I promised myself I would. So as I drove along, I thought, what am I going to do? And I saw a pet store, and I just pulled the car over, walked in. I'm like, could I hold a snake? And the guy's like, well, okay. And I tell you, forget about caffeine. You want to get your heart pumping, just go hold a snake. It was okay. I think the snake was more nervous than I was, to be honest.
Should people be discouraged if they're not successful at some of the things they write?
It's less about I crossed this off. It's less about I completed this task, and more, for me at least, really about the process, about being there for the process.
Right.
I went downtown. One of my things that I wanted to do one day is I was going to discover the farmers market downtown I'd heard about. And all that happened is I went on my lunch hour. All that happened is I got lost. And so I came back, and I at first I felt kind of bad, and I thought, well, I did something today. I found out where the farmer's market isn't. Now I know.
That's funny.
Now, we've talked about the to-do list. Now, you also talk about a to-don't list.
Yeah.
Now, tell us what a to-don't list is.
Well, I think we're all so busy, and I mean, there are so many people you meet, and I'm one of them where at first I said, how am I going to fit something in every day? I'm so busy. And I think it's a matter of prioritizing. So a to-don't list is basically saying, looking at your life and saying, do I really have to do all the, you know, chores, certain chores or certain things that you, anytime you say I should fold the laundry right away, I should, you know, run over here and do this, and take a look at that to free up time that really serves your dreams more, because it's really about deciding at the end of the day what brought you joy and what brought you happiness versus, you know, what made your floor look nice.
So, in other words, don't be rigid.
Exactly.
Don't be flexible.
Exactly.
Jill, this has been wonderful.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
coming.
Yes.
Good
It was
luck with
great
your
being
book.
here. Thank you.
And your son, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I think the book is going to be very successful, and you'll be able to move to the beach.
Yes,
I
I
love that.
predict
want
it.
to.
I predict it.
I love it.
Yeah. If you would like more information on Jill or her book, please visit her website at jillsmolinski.com.
Now, don't go anywhere. We have more ahead right after this.
Yes, we do.
Thank you, Jill.